and good morning to everyone joining us live from different parts of the world. I am Akshay Bajaj, and on behalf of Sivom, I welcome the honorable panelists and everyone in the audience to an all new session dedicated to celebrate the occasion of Teachers' Day. First of all, happy Teachers' Day to all the panelists joining us live.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much, and happy Teachers' Day to everybody.
So, the theme for today's session is celebrating our unsung heroes, honoring teachers and their impact on the world. Before we initiate with a wonderful discussion, I take this pleasure of giving you all a quick introduction of our honorable panelists. On first, we have Ms. Devika Chatterjee, JBCN Director Principal in Mumbai. Ms. Devika Chatterjee is a seasoned educator with a 20 years of experience in renowned schools across India and abroad. Currently the Director Principal at JBCN International School, Borivali, she has a proven track record of leadership and innovation in education. Ms. Chatterjee is a champion of sustainable development and has been recognized for her outstanding contributions with numerous awards, including the iconic Leadership Award 2020. Welcome to this session, Devika ma'am. It's an absolute honor to have you with us today.
Thank you very much. I am honored.
Thank you. And now we have Mr. Revati Raman Vishevar, academic head at the Zero Curriculum. He is a passionate advocate for revolutionizing early childhood education, and as the academic head of the Zero Curriculum, he leads the development of innovative preschool programs that foster curiosity and a lifelong love for learning. With over 2 decades of experience, Revati sir also serves as a preschool business consultant, helping centers thrive and flourish. His dedication to research and understanding the nuances of early childhood development further strengthens his expertise in the field. Revati sir, welcome to this live session.
Thank you for such kind words.
Thank you. And finally, we have Mr. Yogendra Patidar, a young award-winning entrepreneur, Business World 40 Under 40 Education Award, who's passionate about changing education in India and beyond. He's a graduate of both EDIA Ahmedabad and JNV. He co-founded Sivom, a company that designs learning spaces to help students become future leaders, and he's also involved in other businesses as well as he loves technology, philosophy, literature, fashion, and supporting his team. Welcome to this session, Yogi sir. We are delighted to have you joining us live today.
Thank you, Akshay. Thanks a lot.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get the balls rolling. Today's session is packed with 4 amazing phases where I'll be inviting the honorable panelists to share their wisdom on a wonderful diversity of topics. And then we'll have the question and answers round. Now, let's start with the first phase, the evolving role of teachers in the 21st century. And here comes the first question for Ms. Devika Chatterjee, ma'am. Ma'am, please share your insights from your experience as a school principal and please discuss the shift from traditional knowledge dissemination to facilitating student centered learning, critical thinking, and creativity. Devika, ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Thank you very much. And that is a beautiful, beautiful topic to address on Teachers' Day. I think teachers have intrinsically been the same forever and continue to be the same. So it is not about yesterday, today, or tomorrow. The fact is that as teachers, for us, whether it was the first guru or or Dronacharya or today's teacher sitting in the classroom, the one thing that we have in common forever is the fact that when we are in the classroom, when we are with our learners, we think of nothing else beyond our learners and their lives and their learning. It does not matter who that child is. And I have seen many, many times there might be teachers who are skilled and teachers who are not so skilled, but the fact is that the emotions of teachers remain the same. Today's teacher still needs to teach their children how to live the world. So if you were Dronacharya, you were teaching Arjun what to do when he was faced a certain situation in life. The same holds true for today's teachers. So we might have 30 in the classroom rather than 105 in case of Dronacharya. I'm not very sure about the number. I'm just counting the number of Kauravas and Pandavas. But the fact is that in my classroom, if there are 30 children, the teacher's focus is on the fact that each one needs something different, and that's where differentiated learning comes in. The teacher's focus is to try and understand whether my child in the classroom has understood what is to be done, and how will I figure out how much they have learned and what do I do next. And that is where formative assessment comes in. My teachers need to know for a fact that my children will be inhabiting a world 10, 12, 15, 20 years from now, and I know nothing about that world, because there is so much of change and so much of rapid evolution, that I need to think about a world which is beyond my imagination and prepare my children for that world. And that is where building skills comes in. So, for a teacher of today, the unknown, I feel, is a huge, huge space, because we have grown in a certain manner, in a certain environment. We are teaching in a very, very different world. There is a lot more focus on skill, and there's a lot of focus on technology, and there is AI that has come in to aid us. And I use the word aid very, very consciously. AI has come in to aid us, and now, using all these resources, all these tools, I am going to prepare all my 30 learners for the world that they will inhabit, based on certain things that I can predict in the future. So, for a teacher today, there is this whole thing about preparing children for citizenship in our own country, so that they become the best possible leaders, the best possible uh, uh, technologists, the best possible doctors, the best possible, uh, I would say, teachers again, because we do want to create teachers for the world. And at the same time, I have to keep an eye on the world. I need to ensure that my children are not just ready for a small space that they occupy at the moment. My children have to be ready for the globe. I have to teach them perspectives that are very, very different from ours. I have to teach them that there are people who eat things that are very different from what I eat. There are people who believe in things that are very different from what I believe in. They might dress differently. They might have different colors and shapes and sizes and inclinations. And I still need to be a citizen of that world, so that we can still continue so to do something better for the future. In our school song, I'm sorry, I'm taking a little too much time, but in our school song, and I love that line, we have this where we say, we'll try to make the world a better place with active kindness and with grace. Those are, I think, the underlying principles on which every teacher tries to work, because every teacher tries to ensure that my children are definitely better than me, and perhaps better than everybody else in the world, so that they can be the ones who bring about some change that is fruitful for humanity. Thank you.
So, answered with kindness and grace. That was Devika ma'am for you. And those were pretty amazing insights shared by Devika ma'am. And now we have an interesting ask from Revati sir. Revati sir, please offer your perspective on how innovative pedagogies like the zero curriculum are redefining the teacher's role as a guide and co-learner, fostering curiosity and empowering students to take ownership of their learning. Sir, over to you.
So I'll start from the word which Devika ma'am ended with, kindness, active kindness. So basically, Hegel said that being social is something which we do actively. So kindness is not something which we should keep inside. We should actively show it. Until unless we are showing it, we are not basically being kind. So my problem lies, and it actually the my curriculum starts with this particular thought of critical literacy. When we are showing our kindness, to whom are we showing this kindness? Are we actually universal about it, or we are just selective about it? So I'll recall the stanzas from Baba Sahib Ambedkar, which he said in Constituent Assembly debates. that I'll not accept that India is a nation. We aspire to be a nation, but if we will accept that India is a nation, we will just create a chaotic confusion in the society. How can people divided in thousands and thousands of castes can become a nation? So, when I am thinking about showing kindness, I am thinking about showing kindness to certain set of people. It's not universal. And the job of teacher starts from rejecting things which already exists in society. I reject. I am critical. I do not accept. These are the words which I start my life with. So, India, when it comes to preschool and primary education, I'm not talking about secondary and higher secondary, because then we will say that we are constantly, Indians are top CEOs in some of the 500 top NASCOM 500 kind of companies, and these data will start throwing. But what actually is happening in the society? In preschool and primary grades, we are still doing banking model of education, we are still doing memory based assessment, and we are not moving towards it. Although some of the words like project based learning or inquiry based learning are constantly being used by the teachers or curriculum developers. But now the problem has increased in society. We should focus on problem based learning. We already have information easily accessible. We have AI, and maybe in some day we'll start carrying the entire periodic table on our tip of it. So do we need to memorize, or we just need to understand the problems which we are going to face as a society when it concerns environment, and how chemistry will help me solve it? This is problem based learning. Now the question is also about, when I am sitting in a classroom and I am in some kind of, say I am the only person who is slightly different from the classroom. Even when the class size is as small as Devika ma'am said, that the 30 students are sitting in the classroom. Even if I assume that the class strength is so small, whenever there could be a condition, considering the birthday paradox principle, that at least two-person is going to share the birthday as per the statistical analysis. So this is the birthday paradox problem which we face generally. So at least two children could be who is completely different from rest of the children, if even if we have created a homogeneous classroom. So what we are focusing on is something like autonomy, self-directed kind of study. So now the curriculum is not something which will remain in the document. The lesson plan will not be something which a teacher has developed on a piece of paper and which would be applicable for the entire classroom of 30 students. It will be constantly be changing. And when we are bringing in the technology, we have all information easily accessible to us. What is the role of teacher? And that is how the entire curriculum changes. The role of teacher would be, people generally say that the role of teacher has now reduced to facilitator. I'll not use the word facilitator. I'll say that the role of teacher has now basically more rooted in something which we were using some 200 years back. There's a zone of proximal development of Vygotsky. Now the teacher role would be to identify that where this I can take this child up to, and where this child is, and now covering that distance through social learning. We need to be more social. We need to understand that everything that is happening in society is because of that we are still not a society. We are still living in some microcosm of our thinking, some microcosm of our own caste, some microcosm of our own language. And that is how we need to think when we are developing a curriculum for a particular school. And I like to summarize this entire thing, that we need to be critical about everything.
Very, very wonderfully explained on how teachers have to be critical and bring holistic grooming to the students, and a very important point of zone of proximal development, and a lot of paradoxes shared with us. Those were quite impressive answers. And now we have Yogi sir coming up. Yogi sir, please discuss how the design of learning spaces can support and enhance the evolving role of teachers, enabling them to create flexible, collaborative, and technology-rich environments that promote active learning. Sir, it's all yours.
Great. Uh, Thank you, Akshay. So before getting into learning spaces, I'll put down idea what Revati sir had said about, we had to go 200 years, back and understand what was happening there. Okay. So my guru taught me one very interesting thing, difference between shikshak and a guru. Okay. And he said, a shikshak is one who's thinking about himself versus a guru is someone who's thinking about his kid or his session. Okay, so that mindset, that fine line, that when we start thinking about making of someone else, okay, I go very different routed, because then my focus is so earlier in Gurukul times, the responsibility of making a prince or a king was been laid with the gurus. Okay, they used to choose, like Chanakya made it to Chandragupta Maurya. So they train, they focus, they develop them in that such a way that they can foster towards what they are really meant for. And every individual brain is meant for something. And so today's roles for teachers has shifted to be the gurus. Okay, and this is so I was mentioning earlier, the whole world is now going to change to the same Gurukul mindset. Reason being that today technology has taken that industrial part from us. Now teacher is just not more source of knowledge. It is source of inspiration, aspiration, mentoring, uh, everything around it, facilitations, co-creations, co-development, that's coming around here. So think of, if technology has taken that part from us, how we can work on every kid to take their unique identity, shaping them up, and tell them that this is what you are, this is what you can be. There is a horizon available to you, and you can choose between that and excel and foster around it. So I talk about a lot of when we research, we talk about biology of human, and biology of learning, how cognitive development actually works around, because that's where we would learn as human. Why do we talk about that rote learning is not good? Because it is not human. Humans are learning at anywhere, everywhere. We have learning spaces everywhere. There is no defined way of learning. We can get into any posture to learn. Okay, we can lean on the wall, we can lay on the floor, and we can learn. This is what humans are designed for. We are learning right now. May not be typical set of classroom, so that we can learn anywhere. So if we can learn anywhere, learn anyhow, cannot it be predicted in the curriculums, teachers training, and making it again the Gurukul way? So think of, I give the example of how the caste got formed. Now think of old times when someone is excelling into iron work, someone excelling into woodwork, someone excelling into pottery, and gurus identify their skill and shape them for that, and later that maybe developed as a caste. But it was majorly skill driven, because they were designed for that. So guru identified that this guy is help able to shape life learning of being doing a pottery, and then they made him kumhar or whatever we call it. So think it in such a way that Gurukul in those times had identified what skill an individual has and shaped it out. And there's a time where we are getting into that we can figure out what individual's capacity, and of course it would have a global arena, because like Banerjee ma'am said that we have it has to be a big cosmo, because we need to see what is cultural awareness in the global citizenship, because technology has given us undivided access to any country, any culture, any community, and if we need to do that way. So when we look at a learning spaces, we try to see what is a biological way of learning and how that can be fostered into the system. So if I put about let's say emotional based learning, where amygdala get stuck to the memories. So any hyper emotions can stuck to our memory, and that's where we call storytelling as a pedagogy. Now how do we design for space for storytelling? Okay, so that way. So like sirs talked about autonomy or self-directed learning. Okay, if I want to give a self-directed learning, should I have a directed path in space? It should be undirected path. It should be agency. My space should work like an agency, that's an agent also. So when we form this whole thought, we try to look at program as one part, people as another part, and place as another part. And all, the concentration, or co-union of three is where learning can be designed and learning spaces can be designed. And if, let's say, a teacher really wants to take a participatory way of teaching, okay, can we allow that participation from this space? Because once you see a physical environment, okay, our mind starts thinking around it. So how do we set this environment in such a way that it automatically fosters the participation, that I don't need to really say, then form a group. Okay, they should have an ability to form group by themselves. So how space can work as an agency? When someone wants to lie on the floor, how does natural instinct come that I can lie on the floor? Now think of a rug in a classroom and a classroom without a rug. Okay, the moment you put a rug, uh, kids, innate abilities to sit on the rug. Versus, if you don't have it, they would not like to sit on tiles, and that just tricks you out to get there. So, idea is, what are those elements in the whole design which can get you support the biological way of learning? So, which is what the key to the learning space is. One day, someone was asking me in one of a conference that, what do you think teachers exist in future? I say teachers are going to be the breed who's needed most. In these teachers, I would say that this is one of the breed would be demanded most, because the kind of teachers we are looking, it would be different. Though they would have to have, they will also have to get an unlearning and relearning in today's time, because the world is changing at that pace that we need to go to the path of understanding who are we and how. So it's not about product development, it's more about human development. You have to get to the idea of human development as a teachers. And this would flourish like anything, and that's what our country needs today. So yeah, so our spaces are majorly driven towards the whole idea of biological methods of teaching curriculum and setting around on those, so which we can create an environment where I foster, I like to go there, so that is there.
Brilliant answer, Yogi sir. And your thoughts on importance of cognitive development and biological learning in developing learning spaces is quite commendable. And that brings us to the close of the first phase. Thanks for all the wonderful insights, dear panelists. It's time to shift gears and initiate with the most interesting phase of today. Now, let's quickly move on to our second phase, challenges faced by teachers and the potential solutions. In today's landscape, the teachers encounter several challenges, such as workload, student engagement, and adapting to new technologies. Now, I'll invite each of the panelists to share their perspectives on the challenges they have observed or experienced and offer potential solutions and strategies to overcome these hurdles. Revati sir, let's do the Shubharamb of this phase with you. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. I think one of the most less talked thing openly in any kind of forum or any kind of platform is that the teachers are getting very low salary. So we need to accept that this is the problem. Say, for example, if I encounter some problem while developing maybe curriculum or maybe assessment, maybe worksheet, so will I look for some new kind of idea? Even a simple research paper, to access any research paper, a simple research paper to read, one needs to pay $30. That's a general charge if you have not taken subscription of JSTOR. So assuming that I have not taken subscription and I need to read maybe some 2 3 research paper for a particular work to get done, so how I will invest that amount if I am not having any institutional support, or if I am not getting reimbursed for that particular expense? So say if I'm getting good salary, and I think that this will help me growing in future. So salary is one of the most critical thing. After that, the job security. We think that having a secured job lowers the morale, but I'm coming from the complete HRM and HRD perspective. When you have assured a particular employee, the teachers are also employee, teachers are also workers, laborers. They should have these rights, that there's a complete job security element reflecting on that every day. Now the work burden, we generally understands that they have to do several things outside the work which they have thought they would be doing as a teacher when they will become a teacher, or when they are pursuing B.Ed or M.Ed. So they think that when I'll be a teacher, I'll be doing these many tasks. But naturally, when they have entered into, they also need to do several things. Now coming to that, how we are going to solve the problems that teachers are facing. Teachers are facing problem with respect to their identity. This is an identity crisis. We say that Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, so these all things, but generally, when it comes to something which is coded in our present culture, culture is something which we are living as of today. So this particular headset is culture of these days. This is not, will not say that the normal Graham Bell invented telephone is the culture of today. So we live on a daily basis. The culture is on a daily basis. So teachers are facing a huge identity crisis. Now, how to solve all these problems? Of course, one needs to be paid something which is at least somewhat respectable, so that good set of people are basically attracted. That is one of the key reasons that we pay our armed forces well. And armed forces are also not having any identity crisis, because from the beginning stage itself, say the teacher has already been into 1 year into a particular into the teaching function, so now you give them some kind of leadership role, so that from the day one itself, when they have matured, when they have been through a particular entire academic session, now they are given some more responsibility concerning the entire function of school, concerning entire academics, so that they feel empowered, they feel that they are contributing, they are making some changes in the society, they are seeing themselves as change managers. So these kind of things which will do, so that it basically fulfills the gap which teachers are facing in terms of their own identity.
Wonderfully explained, Revati sir. Thank you so much for sharing your insights to that. And now, Devika ma'am, could you please share your take on the innovative approaches adopted to solve challenges faced by teachers in today's landscape?
Um, I will just underline a few more challenges first, perhaps, before I can share something about what we have done. We are a certified great place to work, so we must be doing something right. I'm not sure we are doing everything right. That is not a possibility that I even consider. Um, I start with the gender first. Most of our teachers, we do have a lot of male teachers. We try to bring in that balance, but still, most of our teachers are ladies, and we do have a lot of young teachers who bring in wonderful ideas and new perspectives. And there is one thing that happens is that for a girl, there are certain phases, and that needs attention for their well-being. The first one is that if there is a young teacher, there are many cases where the teachers get married and then they need some time to settle into their new family. As coordinators, leadership role holders in schools where this happens, we have to be very mindful of the fact that, and I am talking about actual situations where we found that a young teacher got married and there were some changes in the way things were taken forward as far as school is concerned, and then within a month or two she was settled again. That whole understanding came from the fact that she is dealing with a lot in her personal life. And then of course there is this whole thing where teachers have young children, and then those young children at home, even in modern families, need attentions of the mother, sometimes more than they need the attention of the father. That is again an area that we look at as far as the emotional well being of the teacher is concerned. And we have to be mindful of the fact that they are human beings, they go through certain phases in life. Other than that, another big area that I find that really helps our teachers to feel important is the fact that even if there is a small thing that really works in someone's class, we talk about it. There are recognition opportunities, and not just that, we ask them to share the best practices in their classroom with all the others in the school. So if something works very well in your class and you find that the leaders in the school recognize it and ask you to share it, you feel fulfilled as a human being, not just as a professional, because you find that the work that you do is being valued. I think exactly what Mr. Revati was talking about, that there is this need to be recognized as a change maker because you're putting in a lot of hard work, creativity, and you're trying to bring in innovation into your classrooms every day, whether it's in small ways or in big ways. And each one of those are precious and important because children are brought up through these classroom transactions one day at a time. Um, we also find that having buddies in the school really helps. If you have a best friend in school and you can talk about common problems and common joys, both are important because as teachers, we don't just work from 7:30 to, in our case, it's 7:30 to 3:30. We work 24 hours because even before we go to bed, we are thinking about what is it that one child needs so that I can do it tomorrow. You have these moments of joy where you have many, many eureka moments. So we are those people who have eureka moments every day. We don't have to wait for that one eureka, the big one. Those eureka moments also need to be shared because when you share a eureka moment, you're actually giving yourself a pat on the back and you are motivated enough. Motivation, the intrinsic motivation takes you much further than the extrinsic motivation. I understand salaries are extremely, extremely important. You can't be at the lowest end, but everything else that comes beyond salaries. So, salaries, of course, are the basic benchmark. But beyond salaries, you need friends in school, you need people who understand the fact that you are putting in your best, people who value the fact that today you might need leave because of whatever reasons at home. There is always another day, and we have a scaffolding structure in place that can hold you when you need that support. All these small things are just about living our lives together because when we are in our school, we are spending many, many, many emotional moments as well as practical moments. We want to be professionals who are bringing up children at the end of the day. So that has its own way of being dealt. And I think that has to be dealt with in a humane manner more than anything else.
Wonderful, wonderfully answered about recognizing the best practices in classroom and how they bring the joy to the teachers as well as the learners. Thank you so much, Devika ma'am. And now I have a question for Yogi sir. Sir, I request you to shed some wisdom on innovative approaches and collaborative solutions to address the challenges faced by teachers.
See, so when we talk about classroom, I know someone really put it this way that a classroom is nothing but four walls having future inside it. You know. So if you talk about we are building future of our nation. Okay, like Revati ji said, the man in uniform gets that respect right away. Okay, how we can build that respect for teachers, that need to be created in a society, that someone whose teacher is also doing a big service because he's building the future of the nation. It is very well put by one of a philosopher that a country's wisdom is based on the wisdom of their teachers. Okay, so if wisdom of the teachers is high, the country's wisdom would be higher. Okay, so if that's the core role, if we talk about a very strong wisdom-driven society, how do we break through all divides and all of this? Is where we have to start respecting teachers as a breed that who's forming the nation, who's at the core of forming this. Okay, which is not just like I said, it's not just a product, it is about every individual human inside us. Okay, the challenge, I like sir mentioned, I also feel one of the way I was talking to one of friend that why we figured out a lot of time that teachers and making them passionate, can we also figure out passionate people who is teaching is, they may not have degrees, but in society there are a lot of people who are passionate about teaching. Okay, can we drive that area? Okay, because I feel people who's in their work life but their teacher inside them is so much that they really wanted to go and teach, but can there be a platform where they can go and look for this? Because for me, if you ask me, I would love to teach, leaving all other things aside, because that, like you said, when you contribute to that kind of development, you feel immense satisfaction, that intrinsic motivation comes there. So, and if that is there, people would go and translate their roles and they would contribute to this. Of course, there are in small bits this is happening. There are people who's going as the visitors or visiting teachers. But if that can be developed as a full-fledged way, that's also a way of solving things, that people who had already built, there are people who's after 40 they start feeling about identity crisis again, delivered from the product of our old education system, that I was been working for being CA, and I worked hard being a chartered accountant, and I got everything which I wished for, but I'm not getting satisfaction. That happy hormones are not coming with me because I'm not doing what I was supposed to do. Okay, I'm not enjoying because it is not me. It is what my society, my parents, they pushed me to that. So when we have something of that, I feel a crisis somewhere. I feel that I'm not happy enough. And if you feel that those people who after 40, if they can have patience for teaching and they can brought to the society, or in this kind of role, that's one of the another way, because they had, get one side of their life where they've seen the money, the growth, that everything, but still not happy. So I feel that's another way of looking at it, because if we see it from deriving what we had created and what we can get out of those creations. So anyone who's not satisfied and they feel the real happiness is in teaching. Another thing which I feel the innovative way is understanding signals of learning. For teachers, it's also becomes very important, that how do you see a kid is learning, you know because that's where the whole assessment comes into picture, that what we did at a formative assessment versus summative assessment, what is the difference which come, versus if we see in the live classroom, can technology be aid for us, you know able to help us that a kid is learning or not. Okay, so we were researching on signals of learning for teachers. How a teacher says, these five kids are may not be learning in the way I'm delivering this right now. Okay, can I tweak it for them? Can I change it? Okay, so but that is when they are teaching. So I feel a lot of time, because technology become a challenge, but technology also can help you out. So we felt smile, eye movements, engagement, participation, my kinesthetics, inclination towards teacher, all that gives me good signals. Okay, and also can technology also, so there's a company in US who's doing capturing through cameras, that what is the level of participation and inclination towards the kid. And once you change the way from, let's say if you're doing a teacher directed method, then you change it to visual, or maybe a kinesthetic method, you'll see different engagement, because every learner is different, and then you can do it. So this is where we can help teachers to connect to students more, understanding where they are. So I feel this is two things which we should have, three things which like having creating a respect for teachers, as in if needed, that can be good for them to start around. We start putting a movement for having giving the teachers as a respect, which is like the armed system. Okay, and then from second is having this giving them idea of uh, how would I say, connecting to the signals of learning and building around it, and passionate society or passionate people in the society who can be teachers. I feel that's also a way we can handle out those challenges which is in there, because people who had seen like, because salary becomes a problem when you're starting your career, but once you're satisfied, you'll have a different thinking, and then when you come, you'll come with a joy and a real happiness inside you. The intrinsic motivation is much higher.
There is just one thing I want to add, please. I know we have other things to
Yeah, sure, sure.
discuss. As far as the the teaching profession is concerned, I do recognize the fact that Mr. Revati also spoke about it, that the culture is what we are living in at the moment. We do live in a country that holds the teachers in high regard, but the fact is that we have to every day remind everybody
And this is,
that respect is a key word,
yes,
even when you are disagreeing. So
agreed.
disagreements need not be disrespectful. If you feel that your child should have got a 10 out of 10, and the teacher has some reasons for saying that no, a 9 out of 10 is more appropriate, the conversation needs to be respectful, and everybody in the conversation, whether it is the teacher who is trying to explain or the parent who is trying to disagree, has to involve themselves in respectful disagreements in the day to day of schools that we run. And I am saying this knowing that every
And
day we come across certain. The fact that when you're coming to drop your child, and we are living in an urban space like Mumbai, where traffic is a part of our life, when you're coming to drop your child at the gate, and the watchman is telling you that, sir, please do not park right in front of the gate because there are hundreds of children who are coming into the school at the same time. Even that conversation needs respect. Everybody knows that the road outside the school is a common space and does not really belong to the school. That conversation needs respect, and it needs the attention of all adults, because even when you're dropping the child at the gate, the child hears conversations between adults. And I keep reminding everybody, and when we say that JVCN is a family, I include everybody, whether it's the Didi Dada or the security person at the gate. Everybody in the family who is an adult might say something to the child that you need to respect, but when our actions speak those words, that is what brings the conversations to the platform, which really become fulfilling. Because for a teacher to feel motivated, she has to understand that there is that basic layer of respect whenever there is any conversation with the teachers.
beautifully put.
Yeah, absolutely. No one can deny that this was the most inspirational moment of this session put up by Devika ma'am. And quite out of the box insight shared by Yogi sir and Devika ma'am, and wonderfully summed up by Dheeraj.
I was just sharing a practical moment that
Hmm.
happens in every school, I think in urban areas, especially every day in the morning when
And
hundreds of children
I
enter.
think Deepika ji, this is also in our organizations also. When you disagree, you think increasing your voice would become the idea of getting an agreement, or so this is across areas also, but it need to be changed. Of course, we are with the adults and adults, but of course, when kids are around, it has to be more serious. So, in agreement for that.
Perfectly put up. So, with all these incredible insights, we sum up the second phase. And now, let's get started with the most awaited phase of this discussion, the impact of technology on teaching and learning. In today's landscape, we are witnessing the increasing prevalence of technology in education and its potential to transform teaching as well as learning. In this space, I'll invite each panelist to share their views on how technology has impacted their work, discussing both the benefits and challenges of integrating technology into the classroom. Devika ma'am, I request you to please take the lead and share your insights first.
Thank you very much for asking me to speak about something which I don't
Very close
fully
to your heart.
understand. Yeah, I was born in the wrong decade, not just the wrong. I was born in the wrong decade. However, I am a great fan of technology. I feel it has given us beautiful resources, beautiful ways in which the teachers work becomes more powerful, more engaging, more meaningful for the learners. There are so many different ways in which we do it in our classrooms. For example, if I have children of various learning levels, AI has brought in this beautiful way in which I can differentiate every worksheet that I give to my learner. There is no question of me not being able to bring about differentiated learning in the classroom. I can use so many different reading resources which give me the level that is meant for the child, and that makes learning so individualized that I can see, okay, this child has moved from level 2 to level 3, and this another child in my class is already at level 7, and I can differentiate between the two and customize the teaching methodology in the classroom. It's made learners realize that they are the ones who lead their learning. So when we talk about student agency, which is a big thing, when we talk about learner leadership, which is a huge big thing, because if you are in charge of your own learning, you understand where you are and where you need to be taken next. Technology has given us so many resources to use in that area also. The one thing that most teachers who don't belong to my generation are very comfortable with is the use of various aids, various devices. Digital learning is in their blood. And COVID, in spite of all the bad things, has helped us because suddenly we moved a few notches higher in our understanding of where we are and where we can be and how many infinite possibilities there are. Our learners take charge of so many different things. So if we need something which is related to technology, that immediately the learners step in with their suggestions, their thoughts, their ideas, and automatically teaching becomes a learner led activity. And that is what teaching is all about. If it becomes learner led, that is where the day the teachers can step back and say, my children are learning and I don't need to do anything about it, I can relax. That is the day when learning has actually started happening in your classroom. It can be something as simple as giving them a test and giving them devices. And I do say that sometimes you have to give your learners devices in the classroom. And if you give them devices and you put four questions and they have automatically answered a question which has an A, B, C, or D answer, and I gave a B, and I realized later that A is supposed to be the answer, the conversation moves from the right answer to why right answer. Then you don't have to bother about, okay, I wrote B, but
Hmm.
the correct answer is A. And now I don't know what to do with it. The teacher and the learners immediately know that there are those four out of 20 who did not figure out that A was the right answer, and the teacher can address it immediately without any shame, without any added disadvantage of thinking that I might not know enough. Because those are the wonderful ways in which technology has made the classroom in today's times so much more interactive, so much more meaningful for teachers. And it also brings in that other joy that keeps teachers motivated because there is always something new. There used to be a time when teachers say that I have taught grade 4 for so many years, I know the book textbook backwards and forwards. Today's teachers don't feel that disadvantage because they are continuously figuring out and doing things which might bring that joy and excitement of learning to the adults as well as the young ones in the school. I'm sorry, I can go on and on, but this is my favorite topic of discussion because there are so many different ways we keep exploring technology. Our latest thing is that now, okay, we will create digital stories for every learner in the school because now I have test results from different areas. Those might be benchmarking tests, those might be diagnostic tests, those might be the summative assessments in the school. And I put it all together and I create individualized stories. And then I add that another thing to the mix, which is well being. If I am in grade 7 and I am going through teenage years, the reason why I am not doing so well in my studies might be very different from the transaction in the classroom between the teachers and the learners. All those stories, the individualized way of understanding how I move each learner from their level to the next is becoming a lot more a topic of discussion. It's going into focus much more than it had in the past. Exciting times ahead.
Yes.
Very true, very true. Exciting times ahead. And thank you so much, ma'am, for raising the point of joy of learning. And now I have a question for Revati sir. Revati sir, how can teachers leverage the tech tools effectively, and how emerging technologies like AR and VR can be utilized to aid in the learning journey?
First of all, Devika ma'am rightly pointed out that now teacher has become a co-learner in the classroom. So even when the teacher has basically answered the question wrong, the teacher can lead the discussion that how we have arrived that the answer is A instead of B. So that is one thing. Like, education has become a process driven thing instead of just a memory driven stuff. So that's one of the big change which has come into the education system. Now, the problem is something different, which I'm bringing in here for the discussion when we are relying on smart technology. So even our graduation from a fountain pen to a ball pen is a technological upgradation which we faced. So even in my time, we used to have OHP projector. So it was not PPT, but OHP projector was there, and teacher used to uh, use that particular tool for assessing students. So now we have graduated. The technology has changed. It has not something which is something too much remarkable. The remarkable things are now coming in because we are realizing that something which we are doing is slightly different. We should have actually understood it way back, that our assessment methodology is completely lost its track. So now teacher might be under fear that if I'll give a lot some kind of project, that student instead of visiting library will directly go to some AI tool and will generate the answer from there. So teacher have this fear. So now how to eliminate this entire failure of this technological system which we are now seeing? So we need to basically change our entire assessment methodology. We need to basically delineate ourselves from the thought that someone would be having some rank in the classroom. So so to secure that particular rank one, I need to push someone down. If I will not push someone down, I will not secure rank one. So, as a society, we need to come out of this mindset. And in India, this mindset exists because of the several reasons. We are a very different patriarchy in comparison to the patriarchal system of West. We need to appreciate this fact. We are a very different society in terms of our caste system, and not only because of the religion system, and not only because of we are hailing ourselves as a secular and mother of democracy. So, if we think that technology has aided our discussion, that we are sitting on a common platform and exchanging our ideas, even some 3,000, 4,000 years we used to do it. Even in Nalanda University, the popular and the oldest university of the world, we used to have this platform where people from entire world used to come and exchange their knowledge and enter into the argumentation of knowledge. Now, if I'll stop appreciating that argumentation is something through which knowledge is generated, will not be able to basically use technology properly. So there is a platform, Twitter, now called X. So say if I'm sharing something, and the technology, instead of enabling me sharing that particular thought, is curtailing my thought, and some other kind of message which is basically a dominant ideology, maybe a hate filled ideology has now become a dominant ideology, and technology is basically aiding that, facilitating that. So technology is not helping us, it is basically coming as a detrimental situation, a detrimental tool. So how it has become a detrimental tool? Because we have failed to appreciate that technology is always there. What we need to bring in is the age old concept that India is a mother of democracy, so let's be democratic about everything. Democracy along with technology will take us further. So just technology would not be sufficient.
Brilliant, brilliant. We were quite moved with the answers and quite wonderfully explained on very different fronts. And so this brings me to Yogi sir. Yogi sir, please share your take on the potential of emerging technologies and how they are shaping the learning spaces of 21st century.
So I put it to like Reti sir was explaining. I recalled Elvin Toffler. Okay, he was a futurist who predicted 21st century in 1980s. Okay, he did. So I don't know. All of us know it or not, but I would put it here that futurology is a subject. Okay, you can get into understanding what future can look like. Okay, and there is a complete process about knowing future. So it says if you wanted to know future, future is always in present in some portion. Okay, it's always going to be exist in present. Okay, what portion would become future is what is the key prediction that so when Elvin Toffler was working around it, when he put the quote of that 21st century illiterate would not be those who could not read and write, but those who could not learn, unlearn, relearn. Okay, he was very sure that information would be so much that we had to unlearn every day to get to know something else. So like Devika Mem was saying that she's been digital alien. Okay, and teaching a digital native today. Okay, it's a very different context, and she had to unlearn a lot of things, and every day, and you have to relearn it out and probably put it across. So the future ahead is we have AI. It's gonna get to meta AI. It is definite. Okay, humans' minds are shallow. Technology minds are deep. Okay, so how? But the only thing is humans have emotional quotient, which is very hard to get into technology and the whole nervous system. Today a small chip can have almost the numbers which neurons can generate in human brains. Okay, so this is the level technology is shifting around. Okay, that kind of signalings from think of just you're putting power 0 1, switch on switch off, just in a two numbers of 0 1, getting into this complexity of that can multiply to the signals of neural, or they're going to that level. In those times the important thing is we say the three intelligences which need to be there, like we discussed in different contexts. Self intelligence, I believe, awareness about my own self. Okay, uh, social intelligence, awareness about society as a whole, and adaptive intelligences. So like when sir was saying about critical thinking, how do you think about critical thinking in the go, which is when I talk about it, when technology is going to shift, can critical thinking be alive? I've been a student of mathematics and I did integral calculus from my old 11 12, all of that. But when someone asked me to calculate a volume of an egg, I was not able to do it. Okay, I later on realized that volume of an egg can be calculated through integral calculus. Okay, but so idea is this is critical thinking. So if I ask someone volume of an egg, they says I will put into water, and it will also get me the volume of egg with displacement of water. So idea is someone is being critical there and thinking about it. When you talk about businesses today, if I'll ask someone in textile business, they will talk about daily wears, athleisure. No one would talk about safety textile. No one would talk about medical textiles. No one would talk about technical textiles, okay, or performance textiles. So the critical thinking is there, that when you see all these resources, how do you brain up for that? So if putting all this in context of learning spaces, we feel, do we need to have different laboratories? Do we need to have different setups separately? Can it not be accessible to me in this space right away, right now? Think about, if someone is teaching me and I have a curiosity to get to a resource, do I need to wait for my library period to go there? Okay, do I need to wait for my laboratory period to go there to experiment something? Okay, if it is accessible me in then and there only, it's very easy for me. If I wanted to access technology, can I have a media bar there, or can I have a media system there that I can access it right now? So a lot of time it happens is humans has, when they have accessibility, they want to practice it right now, because they feel, like when we're doing a passionate project, and if I'm working on something, I want to get to some resource which I just bring in, and I go to the book, read about, and probably do it. So it is where the focused reading, or immersive reading, immersive understanding comes around. So if I want to experiment something, thinking about this fabric will take a stain of something or not, I can go to the lab area, which is wet and messy zone in this space, and can do it. So can we not create our classroom studios where we have facilitations for accessing technology, accessing resources, accessing laboratories, all of that in one go with those allowances. So if we create spaces which has this kind of allowances to enable, okay, and then so we were working on one more project on technologies, how technology in learning spaces, like think about fatigue, physical body fatigue, okay, do our postures are being checked around or not? Okay, when we talk about a chair, we definitely talk about the curvatures, body anthropometries, but do we see, are we getting fatigue there? What is the level I can sit on a chair? So like today you have technology devices which can beep out, okay, that says, blink your eyes 10 times, or you have technology devices who's giving you signals of, stand up for 2 minutes, okay. So all this is also, a very strong signals for our first, body, because one thing is that, how do you bring health in the consideration of learning? At the same time, oxygen levels in the classrooms, okay, light levels in the classroom, acoustic levels in the classrooms, can we have signals around it? Because technology in a space format would give us all that ideas, okay. Toxicity levels in the classrooms, because what is my paint releasing to, or all of that. So what kind of air parameters are there? So if you talk about health, fatigue, all these also needed to be signaled through spaces, okay. So if I sit on sofa, how long I can sit, okay, where is there is parameter? Because the moment your body gets has we call it pressure sensors. The moment I have pressure sensor coming to my blood flow, my fatigue starts and my attention span dropping down. Okay, so if I talk about this kind of thing, can I have a sensors around it? Okay, I was talking about another system which we are designing around. uh, think about Indian genealogy versus Western genealogy. Indians don't get fed from wrist, where Westerns get fed from wrist also. Okay, we only get fed from belly. Okay, why does that happen? Okay, and what kind of postures been supporting those kind of phenomena? Okay, so when we see and design for that in these spaces, we know how are we supporting those kind of movements and systems. So for me, in learning spaces, we would definitely like to uh, close on the idea of including technology for building right learning spaces.
Very, very wonderful take. Thank you so much, Yogi sir. And with this, with all these insights, our session feels like it's brimming with amazing energy and enthusiasm. Since Devika ma'am is running short of time, I extend a heartfelt thanks to her for joining
There
us.
is a reason for this. Today is Teachers' Day, and a lot of my teachers are waiting for me, and they've.
Yeah,
Sorry for
thank you,
that.
ma'am. Thank you for
Sorry for that.
being there for us.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yes,
you very
absolute
much.
honor to have.
Sorry, I need to move out and meet my teachers. Thank
Sure,
you.
sure. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
very
ma'am.
much. It was wonderful hearing everything. Thank you.
Thank
Absolute
you.
honor.
Thank you.
And with this, we've come on to the final phase of our session, the importance of teacher well being and professional development. So, teachers' well being plays a critical role in ensuring effective teaching and student success, and the need of ongoing professional development to keep pace with the changing educational landscape. Now, I invite both the panelists to share their thoughts on the importance of self care, work life balance, and continuous learning for teachers. Revati sir, please share your insights on adopting strategies for promoting teacher well being.
So we need to acknowledge the problems that teachers are facing. So we can say that nowadays society is highly stressed out with everything. So teachers are feeling stress on a regular basis, and the education system as a whole is also putting lot much pressure on teacher. So anxiety, stress. But I would prefer the term burnout. Teachers have finally reached to a level where we need a complete systemic overhauling of everything so that teachers would come out of this entire stage of feeling stress and anxiety on a daily basis. It- the time for the teacher as one of our panelists share, that the time for teacher is not a particular fixed 8-hour work schedule. It is basically a 24-hour work schedule. Besides that, many work from school is taken to the home, so the home life is also cut short. Now, put the entire problem in the same perspective. Now, people say that be mindful. I always say them that mindfulness is something which very few teachers would need to practice, because the moment we are in the classroom, the moment we are teaching, we are in the moment of teaching, and we are not thinking about some our family problem, because we are completely disconnected of that. We are not thinking about that we are paid short. We are constantly, basically amidst everything, and we are constantly focused on something which we are delivering. So we need, the teacher would not need as much training over the mindfulness than something we as a management, we as a educationist working in the entire industry need to acknowledge that there is a systemic issue that teachers are facing. It's not something just personal which could be eliminated at a personal level. So that is my take on the problems that teachers are facing in the system.
I would only add to this, if you talk about well-being of a teacher in today's center, is that, are they allowed to choose the curriculum? Are they allowed to choose the, methodologies? Those are all of, it is said in a country like ours, curriculum is being chosen by government. Okay, it is not by school even. Okay, so where is that flexibility of teacher to have that, they of course nourish and do it, but if they think someone is good at mathematics and he can go for 3 hours, does teacher have that flexibility to happen it out? That also makes a lot of layers of lines of constraints for someone's well-being, because the choice of getting into this is also important. So that's the only thing which I would like to contribute on this.
Perfectly
Very,
put.
very great point. Autonomy is one of the key thing when we
Yes.
need to when we are talking about teacher empowerment, or when we are talking about leadership, or when we are talking about the student empowerment or the student agency, we have forgotten that the teacher should have autonomy.
No,
So there's a very
it's very
great point
important.
which we have brought in.
Thank you. Thank you for emphasizing the point of autonomy. And this brings us to the final phase, that is the Q&A session. And since we are running short of time and we have a range of topics, so I request everyone joining us live to please put your questions on all the platforms, YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, and please tag our panelists and they would be happy to answer your queries. So, well, this calls for the vote of thanks to all the honorable panelists. It was an absolute honor to have the presence of celebrated thought leaders like Devika ma'am, Revati sir, and Yogi sir gracing this session to celebrate the occasion of Teachers' Day. To all the people joining us live from different parts of the world, we extend our heartfelt thanks to you all. And we have more surprises coming up your way, like the next session coming up in October on the occasion of World Mental Health Day on October 10th, that will explore the theme of promoting mental health and well being in educational settings. Keep following us on all the platforms and stay tuned for more of these amazing updates directed to celebrate the transformation of learning spaces. That's all, ladies and gentlemen. Let's meet soon for more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.